G'day, how's it going? Shellstein Photography here. In this video, I'm looking to do something a little bit different for me. If you watched my Welcome to 2026 video, you may know what's coming. I decided I'd try a few things on this channel in 2026, and one of those things is to start doing some interviews with the photographers I know who take some outstanding photographs. They may not be well known, but that does not detract from their photographs. The focus of this channel is usually aviation photography, but with these videos, I want to explore some other genres as well. My first guest is a friend I've known for quite some time and has been very helpful in my photography journey. He's led quite the life, and I feel he's a good choice to kick off this interview series. His name is Will Dower, and he'll join me right after the intro. G'day Will, welcome to the channel and thanks for being the very first interviewee on my channel.
It's a pleasure to be your first guest, mate. Loving it.
Yeah, good to have you on. So Will, you've done quite a bit in your time. You've definitely shown your creative side, not just from a photography side of things, but also in other areas. Tell us a little bit about yourself and some of the amazing things your creative talents have led you to being able to achieve.
Okay. Well, way back in the early 60s, I started as a school teacher and did my 3 years of mandatory teaching to get my accreditation. And at the same time, I was playing the drums. And the club I was working at the time was paying me a lot more money than teaching. So I decided to go into full-time drumming. So I quit teaching, but not entirely, because I kept my accreditation alive so that I could do casual teaching. And of course, that's where I met you. Yep, way back when. So basically, that's it. From there, I went through the club industry and managed to do recordings and commercials, TV commercials, and then ended up on television doing the midday show and Naked Vicar show and many more anyway, but it doesn't matter. Basically, that was my background, or is my background.
Yeah, you've certainly packed a lot into your life with some amazing experiences and achievements. What I'd like to do today, though, is explore your journey with a camera in hand. So let's start with where it all began for you. When did you first pick up a camera and decide you wanted to try to capture amazing photographs, and what do you shoot with at the moment?
Okay, well, way back when, my wife and myself have done a lot of travel, and I was using just a normal point and shoot, little Canon pocket camera. I wasn't serious about it, just wanted to capture the moment at the time, much like people do with their iPhones and Samsung now. And about 15 years ago, I don't know, I can't really say what the pivotal point was, but I decided to buy myself the Canon 70D crop sensor with the kit lens that came with it. And I thought, I have to find out how do they blur those backgrounds and how do they do this and that. So I went to the big university that we all go to called YouTube and spent a lot of time studying. And from there, I think it just grew. The more I did, the more I was intrigued with what you can do with a proper camera. So basically, that's it. It leads me to the next answer for you, which is I'm a Canon guy, not because I think Canon's any better than anything else. There's Nikon, there's Sony, they're all good. But I just started with Canon, so that's what I'm using. Presently, I've got the Canon R6 mirrorless. I have a D Mark II DSLR. I have a Sony RX10 Mark IV, and I've got the DJI drone, the Mini 4 Pro. So that's my kit bag.
Yeah, that's a pretty impressive kit bag. There will quite a few little bits and pieces to be able to take your pictures with. I guess then we'll sort of look at from the time you picked up the DSLR, what's been your photographic journey? I know your music background has led you to doing a bit of photography at musical shows, concerts, that sort of stuff. But has that always been your focus, or has your preferred genre changed over time?
It has changed, Stuart. I started by taking landscape shots, which we all do.
That's where I started too, I think.
My Geelong Pier photo gave me a little bit of exposure, and it was published. And I thought, okay, I'll push on with this. I started doing, what do you call it, the weather photos for the Daily Telegraph. And I put a shot in there of the Parramatta Lake and opened up the paper 3 days later, and there it was. I went, wow. So then I went on to be published about, at a guess, I think about 14 times. So that really got me going, and I thought, now, which direction should I take? And I thought, I really like doing concert photography. Boy, I didn't know what I was taking on, because things change dramatically when you're in amongst a whole lot of stuff happening, which we'll talk about when we get to that point. But right now, all photography I love, but in particular, concert photography. I guess because of my background as a musician. As I say to the acts now when I'm photographing them, I'm seeing you guys for the first time because I've spent the last 50 years looking at their silhouettes as I'm backing them on the drum. So I'm actually seeing them from the front, and it's a whole different genre. It's great. Loving it.
So the next is a couple of questions in one, Will. So we'll take a look at a few of your photos while you tell us your answers to this one. So the music background has obviously played a huge part in your life and led you to getting into concert photography. What I think the viewers would like to know are the following. What are some of the challenges of taking photographs of people performing on stage? How do you deal with these challenges? And are there any particular musicians you really enjoy photographing? And if so, what is it about them that makes them a great photographic subject? The first photo we've got here is one of Casey Donovan, I believe.
That is Casey Donovan. That was taken a few years ago when Casey was just starting out, and it was at the Australian Club Entertainment Awards, which I was the photographer for 4 years. And so I had the chance to photograph a lot of the artists. And that one I really liked because of apart from the fact that she's very emotional there, which I love. I prefer that sort of a look rather than happy smiles. But the lighting was great, as you can see. We've got the spotlight on her face, we've got the overhead, and we've got the rear lighting. So that makes for what I think is a good photo.
Yeah, that little halo effect with the hair is what really does it in that one, I think.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next one that we've got here is from the Eagles opening, and this one's a little bit different. It's like silhouettes here, so you don't really see the performers. It's more a silhouette. Talk us through this one, Will.
Okay, well, this was the opening of the Eagles show. They came out and in darkness, and then suddenly everything lit up. And the first thing you saw was the eagle, which is on the rear projection there. And then the boys were there in silhouette. Now, what made this one so hard to get was that the spotlights at the back there that you can see were shining straight at me. So my light meter in the camera was going all over the place. So in order to get the boys sharp and also the eagle, because that's what the whole thing was about, a tribute to the Eagles, I had to really work quickly. I took a whole bunch of shots, and this was the lucky one. Just got it right. Well, as right as I could do it. So that's what presented a real problem there. But I like it because it's got a bit of, a bit of character about it.
Yeah, that must be difficult, the different lighting, because it would change pretty regularly, I'd imagine, being on, with the stage lights, they just continually change. So that must be difficult to sort of work with. I know even with my shots, if the light's a little bit different, it can throw out what I've got, and I go and change the settings, and I'm not in a stage environment where it's changing constantly.
Exactly, Stuart. It's and that's what's happening. It's changing all the time. So it's essential that I shoot in what's called raw mode, because if you try and do the automatic with the cameras just can't think. Well, they don't know. The camera doesn't know what you really want. So you shoot in what's called raw format, and you get, in the case of my R6 Canon, I get 30 megabytes of data, which is a massive amount to be able to work with later in post-production. And the post-production, which we'll talk about later, but is done to enhance the data that you have, and that's why it's called RAW. It's the equivalent to the The old days, remember with film, you'd have a digital negative, not digital, I'm sorry, you'd have a negative film negative, get it right? And you take down the chemist and you get it processed. Well, that's what happens now. We have a digital negative and we process it ourselves. And that's where part 2 of the photographic journey is terrific, as you well know, because I know you do a lot of post-production with your aircraft shots.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. But the trick is to get a good shot initially, a good capture. And if it's sharp and you've got enough data there to work with, then you should end up with a good-looking photo.
Yeah, good focus is probably the key there, I guess. You know, I'm assuming the same as aircraft photography. If I've got something that's blurry, I'm never getting it back. It might be dark and I can bring out the details, but if it's blurry, that's it. It's
blurry. Yeah, forget it. And that's why it's probably, I don't know if you do it with the aircraft, but it's probably worthwhile putting on your increasing number of shots. In other words, firing off 5 or 6 shots at once. And there's a good chance you might get one good one.
I do a little bit more than 5 or 6. Well, I do about 20 to 30 in a burst, usually, just to get that one.
To get the one, yes. Well, luckily, unlike the old days with film, it costs you nothing with a digital camera.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, except for time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I can come back with nearly 6,000 photos from an air show. That cost me time, that's for sure. The next one that we've got here, Will, is one that I know you threw up on Facebook quite recently, and this one to me just really stood out from the bunch. You've got you've got that negative space down the back, the black, and then just the colour of the jacket there on John, and as you mentioned before, that emotion on the face. It's just a fantastic picture. I really love this one.
Well, thank you for that. I liked it. I had a whole bunch of shots I took of John. That's John Waters, by the way, the well-known TV actor, and he's got a very good show called Radio Luxembourg, where they do all the British hits of the 60s and so on. Very good show. So I took a whole bunch of John and other people in the show. This one I really liked. Not a happy snap as such, but I think full of emotion. I think he was singing a ballad at the time, so he was emoting. And you're quite right. In the background, there's nothing, because what I had to do was get down to the side of the theatre and shoot across so that I had the black curtain behind him. If I'd gone to the front, I would have got the band members in the background and it would have taken the impact off John. So the other thing you have to do with concert photography is move. You can't just stand in the same place. You actually move around to get various angles and whatever. And that's what happened there. I was down on the floor on the edge of the stage, firing obviously upwards and getting the black background.
Yeah, I guess that's where it differs a little bit from my aircraft stuff. At air shows, I want to be pretty much in the one spot. I want to be centre of the show because that's where everything's happening. But yeah, as you mentioned, if you want to get yours, you're constantly moving.
That's right. Yeah, and of course, so is the camera. And what I mean by that is, obviously, it's moving, it's with me. But when you're shooting RAW, the settings, which are not automatic, they are, except for one, ISO. The other 2 settings, shutter speed and aperture, changing all the time. So you've got to keep an eye on the light meter and judge what the right setting will be. And you've only got a split second to do it. So I guess that's the joy of doing concert photography.
Well, the next thing I want to look at is an experience you had at Shark Bay in WA. Now, I know you've had some amazing experiences during your photographic journey, including photographing landscapes from an aircraft under the watchful eye of none other than Ken Duncan, showcasing Shark Bay in WA. So how was that experience, and what would you consider your best photography experience, if not that one?
Well, it was that one. There's no question about it. That came out of the blue, Stuart. I mentioned before about playing drums. I was on the midday show with Ray Martin, who was the compere. I know Ray. He's a pretty good photographer, in fact, a very good photographer himself. And he was with 60 Minutes for a long time in war zones and so on. And he was working with some of the best photographers in the business. Anyway, you may have seen on SBS some of the specials with Ray Martin and Ken Duncan. And for the people who don't know who Ken Duncan is, probably our best photographer, best known photographer anyway in this country. And they do trips out to the Kimberley, they do trips to Norfolk Island, because Ray narrates the whole thing and whatever. Anyway, they had a trip to Shark Bay lined up, and COVID hit. And that stopped all that. We couldn't get into they couldn't get into Western Australia. Fast forward a couple of years, Ken said, well, it's on again, the trip, but Ray couldn't make it. So Ray rang me one night and said, I can't go to Shark Bay. Would you like to take my place? And I went, wow.
Yeah, hard decision, I'm sure.
Yes, there was no argument about it. So off we went. Helen and I flew to Perth and then drove up to Shark Bay and caught up with Ken. And we had I had 4 flights. We had one in the morning, one in the afternoon. Day 2, the same routines. 2 morning flights, 2 afternoon flights. Ken had been there before, so he knew exactly where to tell the pilot where to go. And he said, now off we go to there and over there and whatever. And of course, it wasn't just me. It was a group of people. It was a group of people all wanting to do what I was doing, learn. So off we go, and I had the advantage of having just Ken with me, actually, with the 4 flights, 2 seats only. And I think, do you have a graphic there of the plane? Okay. Now, if you look at that closely, you'll see the cushion at the back there and the same on the seat behind. And Ken and I were sitting sideways, so our feet were almost hanging out of the plane. And we had harnesses on, so we were literally hanging out of the plane. To get the shot unencumbered by the wheel of the plane there down at the bottom right, things like that. Now, Ken was terrific. He didn't say much to me. He told me what suggested settings, but basically all I did was watch wherever he pointed his camera, and I did the same. And, I was very happy with the results. And
then fantastic results.
Oh, well, thank you. Then we would come back, have lunch, and he had another fellow with him, Ignacio Palacios, another great photographer, and then we'd sit down after lunch, and he would help us with post-production. And so that was a secondary learning curve, and then we did the same the next day. So that's how it came about, and I think you've got a shot there of the great man and myself.
I do have that, Will. There it is.
There he is. A wonderful guy, very, for a man of his stature and so famous, he was remarkably very...
down to earth.
Thank you. Down to earth, terrific. Sort of guy you could just chat to all day.
Yeah.
So that's us at Shark Bay Airport. And then I think you've got the graphic of some of the things we took.
I do, yeah. Got about 3 shots from what you took. Do you know roughly how high you are doing this, Will?
I'm guessing it would have been a couple of 1,000 feet. You didn't want to get too high.
Yeah, a bit higher than your drone.
Oh, yes, yeah. I'm thinking, I didn't actually ask, but at a guess, I'd say a couple of 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
And the pilots are trained to keep the plane very steady for us. He didn't want to lose us out the side of the plane. So, as I said, they know where Ken wants them to go. So this was... I was amazed at what I saw for the air. The
colours are just fantastic. I mean, you've got that red at the top, you've got the blue and turquoise type colours down on the left. It's just amazing.
Now, I have enhanced them, of course, in Lightroom, but I didn't do too much because that's how it looks from up there. It's wonderful, the turquoise and, as you say, the brown and whatever. It's an amazing place, Shark Bay. Another one there?
Well, yeah, have a look at this. This one, yeah, I love the colours in this one. Just the way they contrast against each other.
Yes. Well, you've got the turquoise of the reef and so on. Again, when you're up in the plane, I see Ken reaching for his huge camera, which was a Phase 2 Swedish camera he's got worth about 50 grand. And as soon as I saw him pointing at that, that's for me. So out came the Canon and, there we go.
I'd imagine your shutter speed would have to be pretty quick on those. Well, it almost looks like it's not, because it almost looks like you've got, a sort of effect with the water where you've actually had a long exposure. But I'm assuming moving in the plane, you wouldn't have a chance to do anything sort of long exposure at all.
No. That was the one setting that Ken asked me to do. He said, increase your shutter speed because of the vibration of the plane.
It's just amazing how it sort of looks long exposure. And I knew it couldn't possibly be, but the water at times just looks like it is.
I know. It's incredible. When you're up there That's how it looks.
Mm.
No, and you can see why Ken Duncan takes people over there to photograph it.
Yeah, I think we've got one more from Shark Bay. This one, I think you called this one the brain for quite obvious reasons, I think.
The brain. Well, I didn't call it that. I mean, I put that down on the label, but Ken calls it the brain. And again, the colours are amazing with the ochre up the right corner there. You've got the, again, turquoise, whatever, jade, the orange, the browns. It's amazing colours. And you don't have to do too much in Lightroom to enhance it. Just a quick tweak and boom, up she comes.
Yeah, no, they're absolutely fantastic, those ones. We'll love those ones. This was one of the sets of photographs we were actually published. So as you mentioned before, you've been published in newspapers, you've been published in a couple of photographic magazines, including a 2-page spread on your Shark Bay photographs. What did that feel like, and how did the actual publishing come about? I know you spoke about the newspaper ones, but how about some of the ones in the photographic magazines? I know that you had the Shark Bay, you had the Geelong Pier, and also, I believe, the Northern Lights was one that was actually...
Norway, yes.
Yeah, that made it as well.
Well, it started off with a magazine called Photo Plus. Now, Photo Plus is the magazine for Canon people. I think Nikon have got one and Sony have got one, but Photo Plus is for Canon readers, so everything in it, of course, is aimed at the Canon owner. So in there, they have a 2-page spread every month it comes out. They have a 2-page spread where a writer or one of the people write in, and you've got to send in your photos and you've got to write the story, which for a double-page spread is quite a big job to do, come up, make something interesting for 2 pages. So I thought, I'll have a go at this. So I sent it in and never thinking anything would happen. Next thing, they've contacted me from London, which is where it's published. They said, we love what you're doing. We need more story, and the pictures are great. And bingo, the way it went. So I kept submitting stuff and ended up having, actually, I was published 4 times in Photo Plus. It was Norway. I did one for the Dubbo Zoo, and I can't think of the other one. Shark Bay, of course, and there was one more. But no, it was very exciting to be in a high-end magazine. I have to say, I was very, very happy with that. Yeah,
well, you can see why they chose it, Will. I mean, I've got Geelong Pier one here, and this has long been one of my favourites of yours. Just how clear that is, the colours, the reflection. I mean, it's just it's an outstanding picture, really.
Well, the quick story behind that, and that's certainly one of my favourites, the quick story behind that, and it was one of my first photos, actually. When I say first with the DSLR camera. So we were in Victoria, my wife and I. We were driving back through Geelong past, I think it's Corio Bay from memory, and we were actually running a bit late for the hotel. Helen said, come on, we've got to move. So we're driving along the foreshore, and I looked over and I saw that. I went, hold on. So we pulled up, and I waited for the sun to set a bit further so I could get what's called the blue hour, where you've got the sun, other than sunset, you've got the opposite. You've got the sun behind you and the blue hour in front of you. And snapped quite a few of those shots and ended up with that one. And that one has been a big winner for me over the years. It's a bit like having your first hit record as a musician. The hard part is to come up with something else. But anyway, no, that photo's been very good to me.
Yeah, that's always been one of my favourites. The second one we've got here is spread for Shark Bay, as I mentioned. And I think there's a slightly different picture than one of the ones you showed us there in that top left-hand corner, which is another magnificent colour. The blues and the greens in that are just fantastic.
Yes, well, I call the one on the left-hand side the serpent. To me, it looks like a serpent. But what can I say? I sent it off to Photo Plus, and they came back within a few days who would love it, tell us the story. So away we went, and there we are. And that's, as I've said, Photo Plus, the Canon magazine. It's I'm very proud of it because
should be, yeah.
It's a global publication. I mean, it's one thing to be in the Telegraph, and thank you, Telegraph, but I'm proud of the fact that we made it in. I say we because my wife, Helen's with me all the time. She's my wingman. carrying stuff for me and that, but she wasn't in the plane. No.
Yeah, no, very impressive, mate. Getting published in the newspaper is one thing. Even I've done that, but the Photo Plus thing, as I said, I think well deserved.
By the way, have a go yourself, mate. Send in some of your best shots to them.
Might have to. I might give it a shot, see how it goes.
It's the old, if you don't try it, nothing happens.
That's very true, mate, very true. So, Will, I know that you also use a drone, and you mentioned that you've got the Mini Pro 4, and you use that to capture some of your photographs. And I may have had some influence on that decision. I remember taking you out to Ropes Crossing and going through a couple of things back when I was still flying a DJI Spark.
That's right.
I've moved on since to the DJI Mini 3, which is almost the same as yours, just a little bit newer, a little bit older, sorry. And obviously you use the 4. What is it about the drone that you enjoy, and how does the different viewing level change how you compose a photograph using that drone?
Okay, well, at my age, and when you have an 8 in front of your age, I'm no longer going to be climbing up hills and mountains and whatever. Just too hard. So the drone is my aerial camera. And thanks to you, your influence of telling me about the Spark, and you gave me a quick lesson on it and so on, I went and bought a Spark and I trained on that. And then from there I thought, no, I'll upgrade to the Mini 4, and it goes with me everywhere. If we're away on a graphic trip, and if I see something in the distance, it might be an old building or whatever, I can put the drone up, fly the drone over, take some shots, and of course I'm seeing everything on the screen, and that's the important thing. You can actually see it, you can compose your shot because the drone's very stable. You can move it with the controls, you can move it gradually around. You can actually take a whole bunch of shots in a row and you can stitch them together and make panoramas.
Which is what I'm imagining you've done with this one, the headland here. I'm assuming that's a stitched photograph.
That's a stitched photograph. From memory, I think there's about 4 or 5 photos there, stitched together in Photoshop. And the trick is, of course, to make it look like it's all one photo. And so you've got to be very careful. Again, the drone's very good. I use, I keep saying that word, but again, I use RAW format on the drone, which gives me a lot of data to work with. But yes, that is a stitched together photo.
Having that RAW just makes a big difference. There's so much more you can do with the photo once you're in post.
Yes, yeah. Now this one is a combination of 8 photos together, shot in portrait mode. Okay. If it was landscape, it would stretch much further across the screen. So I've turned the camera on its side in portrait mode. I've gone snap, 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 snap 8 times and then joined them together. And that was the result. So you can see right from the ocean, right across the bay there. And so a sort of shot that you can't get from the ground. I can't afford the cost of a helicopter, but the drone is wonderful. I love it.
It gives the average person the opportunity, doesn't it, that you wouldn't have probably, 15, 20 years ago, because as you said, you would have had to have gone up in a helicopter, and I mean, who can afford to go up in a helicopter all the time?
Exactly right. For anyone who's been watching the Winter Olympics, you may have seen a little dark object following them down the slopes, and that's the drone.
If you haven't seen it, I'm sure you've heard it. They've got a very distinctive sound to them, the drones, when their blades are spinning.
They do. Now, the drones are being used all the time now, and used properly. I mean, the drone is great. It's a lot of fun, and you don't have to risk your life climbing up cliffs and whatever to get the shots.
No, you're just risking the drone and hoping that it comes back. Well, yes. I am anyway. I'm always hoping it's going to come back and I don't put it in the drink.
I almost did that recently. Came very close to it. Luckily, my wife was watching. She said, "Do you want to land that in the lake, do you?" I went, "Oops." Hey, I wasn't watching. I was watching the screen.
Yeah. I've done that once. Elizabeth Bay, I think it was, up near Caves Beach, up that way, Swansea way, and I lost sight of it. Yeah, and I was bringing it down, thinking I was landing it on the sand, and then I sort of noticed that it was just water everywhere. I wasn't seeing any sand coming up, and I reckon I was a half a metre from putting it down in the middle of the bay.
Yep. Well, that's exactly what happened to me. We're at Lake Jindabyne, and Jindabyne Lake almost claimed the drone for me too. Fortunately, my wife was watching the drone and I'm watching the screen, so I'm very happy that she was watching.
Yeah, not one of those things you want to lose, but
yeah, it does happen every now and then. I know a few people have lost a couple of drones, but they're good fun though.
Well, I've lost one. Yeah, I landed one in a tree. Stupidly, it was my mistake. It wasn't the drone's fault. As you know, they've got sensors on them, and they can sense if there's a tree or a branch or something in the way, and it goes around it. But I won't go all the details, but I pushed the wrong button, and that was it. End of drone.
I've dropped one, but I haven't. It didn't break. The Spark, that was a very tough little drone, that one. I dropped that one probably from 10 metres in the air straight onto sandstone, and it knocked off one of the lights, but didn't affect its performance. I lost that battery because it expanded a little bit, but didn't affect the performance of that drone at all. It just kept on flying. In fact, my daughter's got it at the moment. She uses it. Yeah, tough little things sometimes, but then so fragile at others.
Right, yes. Well, my grandson has got my Spark, so I don't think he's flown it yet, but I've got to give him a couple of lessons, because as you know, you don't just pick up a drone and say, oh, let's go flying.
Yeah, no.
You've got to be very careful, especially with OH&S. You don't want to hit someone in the head or whatever.
Yeah, well, we've got to learn the rules too. You don't want to be, because I find a lot of the time now we're seeing no drones allowed, and I think it's because people haven't really been very sensible in the way they've used them, and it does affect other people. There's places I want to fly my drone, and now I've got these do not fly drone signs all over the place. We'll just take a look at a couple of other photos now, Will. So take a look at some of the ones that you sent through to me to add in today, and if you could just talk us through how you capture them and why they're special to you. So the first one that I've got here is actually the Geelong Pier. So we've spoken about that one, so I might skip to the next one because I think we've gone over that one pretty thoroughly. This one here, again, another one that was a little early in your photographic career, if I remember correctly, but another one that I really love just because of mainly the colours and the reflections you've got. It's just so still, that water, and the reflections are just, I mean, they're just great.
Well, another example, Stuart, of being in the right place at the right time, with the moon was just coming up over the horizon, and the reflections, as you say, just looking at it, I thought, I think that'll make a nice photo. So there we are. That's it, and I love it too. I think it's wonderful.
It's just a well-balanced picture.
Thank you. Yeah, well, that's what we try for, but, everything's in the eye of the beholder.
I'm still waiting for a day where the water's still enough to get something like that. Every time I turn up somewhere, the wind comes up and it's done. I don't get the reflections.
You have a duck land in the lake. It's beautifully calm, and the ducks come in and land or whatever. I've had that happen.
The next one, I think you said this is kind of around the same area down in Tassie. Yeah.
It is.
This one's a little bit different because this is a Wildower compilation, which is a little bit different.
We better tell the folks about what this is. With AI, the use of AI, this shot was taken in Strahan, where the other one you saw, that was Strahan Harbour. Now, this was on the other side of the bay, and that trawler is not really there. I looked at the photo, great sunset, good reflection on the water, everything's beautiful. Normally, I would have asked my wife to walk to the end of the jetty, so I had a point of interest there, but I forgot. So I thought, what can I put in there to make it give it a bit more interest? So I've used AI and I've put it in there. So I'm owning up now to manipulation, but to be fair and honest, you'll notice it says Wildower compilation. So whenever you see that, it usually means I've used AI. So that's not really, wasn't there, but it's been compiled. Yeah,
you're getting very good at putting those in. Well, I'm nowhere near as good as that. I don't really use AI a lot, to be honest, but yeah, it's definitely a skill to get it right.
Yes. You got to make it look like it's part of
like it's part of the actual picture, which is where I struggle. The next one will obviously, speaks to me, being an aircraft photo.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And looking at that I'd be very happy to have that in my collection. Probably the only thing that I'd do different would be to slow the shutter speed down to get a bit more prop blur, but I must admit I've got a lot that look like that as well, particularly if it's a plane I haven't seen before and I want to make sure I get something nice and clear. So I think you were talking, this one you took with your Sony camera, and you had to crop in quite closely to this one because it was a bit far away, I think.
Yes, I think it was the Sony. And because the plane was relatively close, I was able to lock in on it. So that's why I was able to use the 24 to 600 reach on the Sony. I was able to get in and get a fairly close shot. But I prefer to use the Canon, and I've now got the 400. When you and I go to the air show together, I'll be picking your brains on how to take good shots. But that's coming up in May, I think. Are we going?
Yeah, I believe it is, yeah.
Not far off, yes. But no, thank you. That's probably the best shot. If you saw the other 400, they're terrible.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about that. Well, as I said, I come back with 6,000 or 7,000 and end up with maybe 150.
Right, yeah. Well, that's a good average.
It's a little bit higher usually, but the problem is taking so many, I end up with 150 because 6 are almost identical because they're just taken in that burst. So, yeah, I probably end up with about 500, but I edit about 150 usually, somewhere around that mark.
Right.
We already had a look at a little bit of your compilation work, Will, but I've got a couple of others here that we might just have a quick look at. This is something that I know that you really enjoy doing because of the amount of times I see a compilation from yourself. It's interesting because a lot of these photos I notice sort of look back at your life in different stages. And a couple of the ones we got here are doing exactly that. So let me just share those couple of photos. The first one is not the sort of looking back, but I'm assuming your wish list almost, is it?
Yes. I've entitled that one Living the Dream.
Mm.
The only real thing in there is my head. The rest is totally AI. But in the old days with Photoshop, you remember when people got very excited when they stuck a head on something like that, and it always looked so unreal.
Mm.
Well, now with AI being as good as it is, it comes up with the correct shadow on the face, the shadow on the bike, on the ground, and the car, and all that. It makes it look very realistic, and it's just I just have fun with it, But I never tell people it's my photo.
Yeah, I know that you always put that compilation in there so that there's no confusion. Nobody can sort of say that you're cheating at all. It's very out there. This is a compilation.
Exactly right. You have to be honest about it because you now have AI programs that can detect AI in photographs. So if you send stuff off the ViewBug, and if I sent that to ViewBug, it wouldn't last 10 seconds. So they'd pick it straight away. So it would never get published. So you've got to be honest, and they've only got to look up the metadata on your shot, and they'll see very quickly that it's not real.
Yeah. You do have some, though, that technically are real, but they're just the way you've put them together. So ones like this, which are all you?
Well, they're all me. Yes, they are. First of all, that's me at 18 playing the drums when I was just starting out. I think I was at Teachers College at the time. And it's a black and white photo. So I've colorized it. The young me is colorized. My drums were blue, pearl shell blue. And so I've tried to make it meld in with the rest. Then I've got the old me standing behind me, and I had to place the arm in a position where I could put it in place. And in the background is still old me on the TV screen, with young me, 1986, or younger. And the building is totally AI. So
didn't realise that.
Yeah, the building's AI. So, and the TV set.
Well, that's how good you're getting at this, Will. I had no idea. I thought that was just the background of that picture and you just had added yourself in. So there you're getting pretty good at it.
No, I went through a whole lot of backgrounds until I came up with that one that I liked because of the composition and the dark background to highlight the four of me. So yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah, the next one we got, it's got the same some of the same stuff in there, but just a slightly different version of yourself taking a photograph of yourself.
Right. I know. Pretty crazy, isn't it? But again, as I say, AI is wonderful if used properly. Not only just photography, but AI is being used for everything. I mean, goodness, right, our phones are packed with AI, with sat navigation, Google Maps, Apple Maps, Siri, all that. And used properly, AI is wonderful. We shouldn't be scared of it. We should be scared of the idiots that misuse it. But I refer to that as HI, human intelligence, or lack of. But there we are. That's me mucking around.
So we'll just on the AI stuff, along with fantastic photographs, you also, we've shown that you like to experiment with Photoshop and more recently the AI stuff with the release of things like Firefly. And I'm always excited to see what your latest with this is. I think, I've seen quite a few where you've had a picture of a pelican and you've made it take flight. You've had sort of bugs crawling around on flowers, all sorts of weird and wonderful things. But what is it about working with Photoshop and Firefly that piques your interest and keeps you wanting to create and improve your skills with these pieces of software?
I suppose I think the challenge, Stuart, I love learning. And even at my age, I still like to get into YouTube tutorials and see what all this AI animation's about. And that's what you're referring to now, is not just still photos, but I can animate the photo itself, which is pretty crazy. I put one up recently where it's young me, again, and old me meeting each other and shaking hands. So, which is bizarre, but it's the challenge of doing stuff like that because it's there to be used. And Photoshop, as you say, has the built-in AI, so why not use it? It's a lot of fun. Having said that, if people are on Facebook, you would have seen lots of programs now that can do it a lot better than I do because you've got to pay for it. They're not cheap either. But nonetheless, I'm trying to think of the correct answer for you. I think I just love the challenge. The fact that it's new. I wish I had another 50 years in me. I'd love to see what we could do in 50 years' time.
It could be interesting. Some of the stuff I've seen recently with the AI, you wonder where it is going to go to in the end.
That's right. No, it's an exciting time, and our kids are going to see the benefit of it. And again, I keep saying it's the use of it.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the way you use it, what your purpose is, I guess. And as you say, whenever you do it, it's very open and honest that this is AI. It's not. Well, it's your work, but you've incorporated elements of AI to make it work.
Exactly right. And you've got to be honest about it, otherwise you'll be found out. And you don't want that.
No. So, Will, is there anything you're particularly wanting to explore in the future? Is there anything that you've sort of come across? As you said, you like to learn and to do new things. Anything that you're looking to explore in the near future?
I've thought about that, Stuart, and quite frankly, no, because I'm really waiting to see where the next chapter is in photography. What's coming next? The cameras are great now. The lenses are great. The software products we're using, Adobe, Lightroom, Photoshop, AI, they're just moving ahead so quickly that I think I'll just wait and see what comes up. And when it comes up, I'll say, well, I wonder how I can use that. But no, I don't know. I'll keep doing what I'm doing, which is having a lot of fun with taking the photograph. And I'll have to say, with all the AI and bits and pieces, I still love taking a good photo with the camera.
Yeah. Little suggestion for you, mate. Printing.
Okay. No, I don't know anything about printing.
Good fun. I enjoy it. As you know, I recently got the Canon Pro 310 and all the pictures behind you are there now because I can quite easily print them. And the printers these days, it's almost like you've just got it back from the photo lab with how good the printers have become. So maybe something to think about. But anyway,
mate,
it's not for everybody, but yeah.
I mean, what ones do you print out? I mean, you and I are taking thousands of photos.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it, Will? I'm sort of getting to the point also of where am I going to put it? Well,
that's true too. That's true. At least on our hard drives, we can revisit stuff and we can pull it off. Yeah, I might print that one out, even though it was taken 8 years ago. Doesn't matter. If it's a clean shot, it's good.
Yeah, I know my work wall's getting quite full because I'm running out of space here, so I'm taking them into work now.
Well, good on you.
Well, it's been great chatting with you about your photography, Will. Thanks for agreeing to the discussion and sharing your photographic journey and being my first photographer interview. It's been very informative for me, and I hope the viewers, and I'm looking forward to photographing some photos with you in Shell Harbour later this year at Wings Over Shell Harbour.
Wings Over Shell Harbour. And I'll be with the aviation expert alongside me. You'll be my Ken Duncan. No, well, thanks very much for having me, mate. I probably waffled on too much, but I hope there's some interest in what we're doing. I say we because this is a big jump for you to do a podcast, and you've spent a lot of time and trouble putting it all together, so well done. Congratulations, mate.
Cool. Well, that's all for this video. I hope to be able to bring you all a few more of these types of videos in the future. Until next time, see you later.